Hey guys, welcome back to Token Tech. Today I want to talk about the 1600 AF and the new Ryzen 3 CPUs. Okay, so as you guys have probably all seen, all the benchmarks have come out talking about the great performance in the Ryzen 3 3100X, or sorry, 3100 and 3300X. Now, in those comparisons, they typically did compare to the 1600 AF, also from AMD, and the i7 7700K from Intel. Why did they choose that CPU? Well, because that's the last high-end CPU that that Intel made that had 4 cores, 8 threads, and the upcoming i3s will also have 4 cores, 8 threads. So probably gonna have to do a refresh of those benchmarks when those CPUs come out from Intel, but they're not out now, so we don't really need to worry about them right this moment. So right now we have the 1600 AF, which is a 6-core, 12-thread CPU based on the 12 nanometer process. It's Zen Plus, not Zen 2, and it's basically similar to a 2600, but in a called a 1600 AF. Slight differences to the silicon, and comes in at $85. Now the 3100, I believe, comes in at $100 or $99, and the 3300X comes in at $120, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section down below, but I think that's the difference in price, like 120 or 125, something like that. Either way, they're all pretty budget end CPUs. I know there are cheaper CPUs out there, but for a serious gamer or content creator, this is the lowest I'd say you should really be thinking. The 1600 AF, 3100, or 3300X. Again, we can talk more about the i3s when they actually launch, and we can get real hardcore performance data on them. So, as many of you have noticed if you watch those benchmarks, the 1600 AF still remains the budget champion. It is not quite as good at gaming, but because you have more cores and more threads, it gives you a better all-around experience. And at $85, well, you can justify that over the $120 3300X. Okay, if they were the same price, obviously you would go one way or the other, depending on which price we're talking about. But at $85, it's a no-brainer. You go with that CPU. Nothing really can change that. That's such a good value. You go with that CPU. But there's one problem, and that big problem is availability. Some of the reviews mention this, that even in the United States, it's hard to find that CPU. When it comes in stock, it quickly goes out of stock, and then it's out of stock basically longer than it is in stock, okay? So, or because of the limited availability, it is often overpriced. So it's hard to find it at $85 is what I'm trying to say. And when it is at $85, it's out of stock. From my experience and from what I've heard from others, this is generally only available in North America. If you live in other countries, Europe and other parts of the world, South America, Asia, and so on, these chips don't exist. You can't buy those chips in these other parts, at least as far as I know. So that means you're importing them from the United States, which means you're paying import taxes and duties and all those things, which will lead to the value going right out the window. So the 1600 AF is really only a good deal if you're in the United States and if you find it at the proper price and it's in stock, okay? A lot of times when you find it at the right price, it's out of stock. So that being said, should you go with the 3100 or the 3300X? Now, I would argue that the 3300X is the one that everyone should go with. Again, I guess if you're making sacrifices, you could go ahead and do the 3100, but in my mind it's the $85 1600 AF or the slightly more expensive 3300X, because it does perform better in games and it performs good enough in everything else that you probably wouldn't really notice the difference. It just comes down to price and availability, and with the price being overpriced because of limited availability or being out of stock, then I would have no problem going with the 3300X. I think that's what people need to focus on. I've been seeing some people, not too many, but some people talk about why is this even a thing when they have the 1600 AF, and that's why. Availability around the world, and even availability in North America, is not great. So with the introduction of these new chips, you can get those. Now, also, let's not fail to mention that this is on Zen 3, the 3300X and 3100. They are on Zen 3, which is a newer architecture which offers other benefits, such as PCIe Gen 4. Again, maybe not so relevant at this lower end, but that's still there, and you have that for the future, as well as better power efficiency. These chips are going to run at such low temperatures and low power draw because of the improved architecture. Okay, it's way more efficient, so you're going to be saving on power. Now, again, it's not enough, it's nowhere near enough to mean anything, but you will be saving on power, and you will be saving, and that means you're going to be saving on temperatures as well. So you won't need as much cooling to cool these chips. Again, probably not that big a deal at this range of the market. You know, none of these chips are really going to get that hot, but these are things that are worth mentioning with the process improvement. Again, higher IPC as well, which is why a 4-core 8-thread chip can outperform a 6-core 12-thread chip. All right, it's just costs more, which no duh, that's kind of how things work. More expensive things should be better. It's just about how much better, is it worth it? And in my opinion, again, getting back to the main point of this video is that, yeah, if you can find a 1600 at $85, totally go buy that CPU. It's a great value. If it's more than $85, there's not much value in there. And if it's not available or not available in your country or region, then obviously that's not even an option for you. So going with the 3300X would be a much better option for most people, especially those where it's not even available, the 1600 that is. Anyways, that's what I think. Let me know what you think down below. Do you think that what I'm saying is true? Do you have your own methodology or mentality when it comes to this type of thing? Would you rather have a 1600 or a 3300X? I personally probably would rather have the 3300X if I had to choose. But let me know down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.